The leopard frog exists at a biological crossroads. Neither fully bound to water nor entirely committed to land, it occupies a narrow but powerful ecological space where two worlds overlap. This position, delicate yet resilient, defines every aspect of its biology. To understand the leopard frog is to understand transition itself, movement between states, environments, and evolutionary strategies. Its lineage reaches back hundreds of millions of years, to a time when vertebrate life first began experimenting with life beyond water. Amphibians were among the earliest pioneers of land, and the leopard frog carries this ancient legacy in every breath it takes through skin as much as lungs. Its body is not armored against the environment, it is open to it. Water, oxygen, temperature, and chemical signals pass freely across its permeable skin, making the frog both highly sensitive and extraordinarily responsive. Evolution shaped the leopard frog for efficiency rather than excess. Its streamlined body minimizes resistance in water while remaining agile on land. Long, muscular hind legs store elastic energy, allowing explosive jumps that can instantly remove the frog from danger. These legs are not merely tools of escape but instruments of migration, enabling movement between breeding pools, feeding grounds, and seasonal refuges. The frog's spotted pattern is not decoration. Each dark blotch breaks up the outline of the body, dissolving it into background noise when viewed by predators. In grasses, mud, or shallow water, the leopard frog becomes visually fragmented, difficult to track. This camouflage works in concert with stillness. Motionless, the frog nearly disappears. In motion, it vanishes through speed. Skin defines the leopard frog's relationship with the world. Thin, moist, and richly vascularized, it allows cutaneous respiration, oxygen absorption directly from the environment. This adaptation permits survival in low-oxygen waters and reduces reliance on lung breathing. But it comes at a cost. Pollutants, toxins, and pathogens enter just as easily. What keeps the frog alive also makes it vulnerable, turning the species into a living sensor for environmental health. Behavior reflects this sensitivity. Leopard frogs are alert animals, constantly scanning for vibration, shadow, and sound. Their eyes, positioned high on the head, allow vision above water while the rest of the body remains submerged. This posture enables ambush feeding and predator detection simultaneously. The slightest disturbance triggers an immediate response, either a plunge into water or a powerful leap into cover. Feeding is opportunistic and efficient. Leopard frogs consume insects, spiders, worms, and other small invertebrates, playing a vital role in controlling pest populations. Prey is captured with a rapid extension of a sticky tongue, guided by binocular vision and precise timing. Feeding occurs primarily during active periods aligned with temperature and humidity, reinforcing the frog's dependence on environmental rhythms. Reproduction anchors the leopard frog to water. Breeding seasons are triggered by temperature, rainfall, and daylight changes. Males announce their presence through calls that ripple across wetlands, each species tuned to specific frequencies and patterns. These vocalizations are not random noise, they are encoded messages advertising fitness, location, and readiness. Eggs are laid in clusters, anchored to vegetation in shallow water. From these eggs emerge tadpoles, fully aquatic larvae equipped with gills and tails. This stage is a race against time. Predators, drying pools, and competition thin numbers rapidly. Survival depends on speed of growth and environmental stability. Metamorphosis transforms the tadpole into a frog, reshaping organs, limbs, and sensory systems. Gills disappear, lungs develop, limbs emerge. The animal shifts from a purely aquatic existence to a dual life, bridging ecosystems. Few transformations in the animal kingdom are as radical or as risky. Habitat defines success. Leopard frogs favor wetlands, ponds, slow-moving streams, and moist grasslands. They require clean water for breeding and sufficient terrestrial cover for feeding and overwintering. Seasonal movement between these zones is essential. Frogs memorize routes, returning to the same breeding sites year after year if conditions remain favorable. Winter introduces another test. In colder regions, leopard frogs overwinter by burrowing into mud at the bottom of ponds or retreating into damp terrestrial refuges. Metabolism slows dramatically. Oxygen uptake through skin sustains life when breathing ceases. Survival depends on water quality, oxygen availability, and the absence of freezing. Predation is constant. Birds, snakes, mammals, and fish all target leopard frogs at different life stages. Defense relies on early detection and rapid escape rather than confrontation. The frog's strength is not resistance but avoidance. Ecologically, the leopard frog is a connector. It transfers energy from aquatic invertebrates to terrestrial predators and back again. Its presence stabilizes food webs, moderates insect populations, and supports biodiversity. Where leopard frogs thrive, ecosystems tend to function smoothly. Yet this balance is fragile. Habitat loss, water pollution, disease, and climate instability increasingly threaten amphibian populations worldwide. Leopard frogs persist where conditions allow, but their decline often signals deeper environmental stress. Still, they endure. Through flexibility, sensitivity, and ancient design, leopard frogs continue to occupy the narrow but vital niche. They do not dominate landscapes, they integrate into them. Their survival depends on harmony rather than control. In the quiet margins of water and land, the leopard frog remains watchful, responsive, alive. The leopard frog is engineered for movement through contradiction. It must function in water that resists motion and on land that offers none of the buoyant support of its native element. Every aspect of its anatomy reflects this dual demand. Nothing is excessive, nothing is ornamental. The body is a compromise refined over millions of years. The skeleton is lightweight yet resilient. Bones are elongated where leverage matters and reduced where mass would hinder acceleration. The pelvis is tightly fused, forming a rigid anchor point for the massive hind leg muscles that define the frog's identity. These muscles act like biological springs, storing energy as they compress and releasing it in a single explosive motion. A leap is not a push, it is a release. This movement system obeys physics with ruthless efficiency. Force is generated not through continuous effort but through elastic recoil. Tendons stretch and snap back faster than muscle fibers alone could manage. This allows the leopard frog to achieve sudden acceleration while minimizing energy expenditure, an essential trait for an animal that cannot afford prolonged exertion. In water, the same limbs become propulsion paddles. Webbing between the toes increases surface area, pushing against dense fluid to generate thrust. Swimming is smooth, controlled, and directional. The frog does not fight water, it flows through it. Transitions between land and water occur instantly, without hesitation, because the body plan demands it. Skin remains the most critical interface. Thin and permeable, it serves as a respiratory surface, an osmoregulatory membrane, and a sensory organ. Oxygen diffuses directly into blood vessels beneath the surface. Carbon dioxide diffuses out. Water balance is maintained through constant exchange. This system allows survival in hypoxic water and damp terrestrial environments, but it also exposes the frog to every chemical present in its surroundings. Temperature governs everything. As an ectotherm, the leopard frog does not regulate internal heat. Instead, it tracks thermal gradients with precision. Activity rises and falls with ambient conditions. Muscles stiffen in cold, slow environments. Enzymatic reactions lag. Movement becomes cautious, deliberate. In warmth, metabolism accelerates. Reflexes sharpen. Feeding and reproduction intensify. This dependence creates narrow windows of opportunity. A few hours of optimal temperature can determine whether a frog feeds successfully or goes hungry. Weather patterns shape daily routines. Seasonal cycles dictate life history events. The frog lives on a schedule written by climate. Extreme conditions test these limits. During droughts, water bodies shrink or vanish. Leopard frogs respond by dispersing, seeking refuge in damp vegetation, burrows, or shaded depressions. Moisture becomes currency. Skin must remain hydrated to function. Dehydration is lethal long before starvation. Cold introduces a different strategy. In regions with harsh winters, leopard frogs enter a state of metabolic suppression. Overwintering beneath water or within saturated soil, they reduce activity to near zero. Heart rate slows. Oxygen consumption drops. Survival depends on diffusion through skin alone. If water freezes solid or oxygen levels fall too low, mortality spikes. The immune system operates in tandem with these environmental pressures. Amphibian skin hosts microbial communities that offer protection against pathogens. Disruption of this balance, through pollution, temperature stress, or chemical exposure, opens pathways for disease. The frog's defenses are external as much as internal. Feeding mechanics reveal further specialization. The tongue is anchored at the front of the mouth, unlike most vertebrates. When deployed, it flips outward and downward, striking prey with adhesive force. Retraction is immediate. Timing is critical. Vision guides the strike, depth perception calibrates distance, and neuromuscular coordination executes capture in milliseconds. Digestive efficiency follows. Prey is swallowed whole. Enzymes break down chitin and soft tissues rapidly. Energy extraction must be quick, as feeding opportunities are sporadic. The frog cannot afford inefficiency. Sensory systems integrate constantly. Hearing detects low-frequency vibrations transmitted through ground and water. Vision tracks motion more than detail, prioritizing movement that signals prey or danger. The lateral line system, present in larval stages, fades as terrestrial life takes precedence, marking a shift in sensory priorities. Metamorphosis itself is an extreme adaptation, compressing evolutionary history into a single lifetime. Tadpoles are aquatic specialists, optimized for grazing and filter feeding. The adult frog is a predator, a jumper, a land-water hybrid. The transformation rewires physiology completely. Organs dissolve and reform. Neural circuits reconfigure. Few animals undergo such total redefinition and survive. This capacity for radical change explains much of the leopard frog's persistence. It is not locked into a single mode of existence. It can adjust, transition, and rebalance as conditions demand. But this flexibility has limits. Rapid environmental change pushes beyond those limits. Pollutants interfere with hormonal signaling during development. Temperature anomalies disrupt metamorphic timing. Habitat fragmentation interrupts migration routes between life stage habitats. When transitions fail, populations collapse quietly. Still, where conditions align, the leopard frog performs with remarkable consistency. Its body obeys natural laws without excess. Its behavior synchronizes with environment rather than resisting it. It survives not by overpowering challenges, but by fitting within them precisely. In this balance, between water and land, motion and stillness, vulnerability and efficiency, the leopard frog endures as a master of transition. The leopard frog lives in a world where stillness is as important as movement. Much of its survival strategy depends on restraint, knowing when not to act. Hours can pass with the frog motionless at the edge of water, body aligned with reeds or mud, skin reflecting just enough light to dissolve its outline. This is not passivity, it is vigilance refined into patience. Behavior in leopard frogs is shaped by risk management. Every action carries cost. A jump reveals position. A call attracts mates but also predators. Feeding exposes the body. As a result, the frog's daily rhythm is conservative, favoring short bursts of activity punctuated by long intervals of observation. This pattern reduces detection and conserves energy in an environment where both are scarce. Social interaction among leopard frogs is limited but meaningful. Outside of breeding seasons, individuals largely ignore one another, sharing habitat without cooperation or conflict. There is no territorial defense in the traditional sense, no long-term social bonds. Instead, spacing emerges naturally through avoidance. Frogs adjust distance based on perceived threat and resource availability, forming loose aggregations only when conditions allow. Breeding season alters this dynamic dramatically. As environmental cues align, warming temperatures, increased daylight, rising water levels, males gather near breeding sites. Calls fill the air, layered and overlapping. Each call is species-specific, shaped by anatomy and evolution to carry efficiently across water and vegetation. Females move through this acoustic landscape, selecting mates based on call strength, consistency, and location. Calling is energetically expensive and risky. It exposes the male's position to predators while demanding sustained muscular effort. Only individuals in good condition can maintain strong vocal output. In this way, sound becomes an honest signal of fitness. There is no deception, weakness cannot be hidden. Once breeding concludes, social structures dissolve. Eggs are laid, fertilized externally, and left behind. Parental care ends immediately. Survival of offspring depends entirely on environmental conditions. This strategy trades certainty for scale, many eggs, few survivors. It is a numbers game played against predation, disease, and chance. At the ecosystem level, leopard frogs exert influence disproportionate to their size. As predators of insects and other invertebrates, they regulate populations that would otherwise expand unchecked. Mosquitoes, flies, beetles, and agricultural pests all fall within the diet. In wetlands and surrounding grasslands, this predation stabilizes trophic dynamics and supports plant health indirectly. As prey, leopard frogs sustain a wide array of species. Birds, snakes, mammals, fish, and larger amphibians all depend on frogs at various life stages. Tadpoles support aquatic predators, while adults feed terrestrial ones. Energy flows through the frog, crossing ecosystem boundaries. Few animals bridge aquatic and terrestrial food webs as effectively. The frog's sensitivity makes it an ecological indicator. Changes in water quality, temperature, or chemical composition affect frogs quickly and visibly. Declines in leopard frog populations often precede broader ecosystem collapse. They are early warnings written in silence. Human activity increasingly disrupts this balance. Wetland drainage removes breeding habitat. Agricultural runoff introduces fertilizers and pesticides that alter water chemistry. Roads fragment migration routes. Artificial light reshapes insect behavior, indirectly changing frog feeding patterns. Noise pollution interferes with mating calls, reducing reproductive success. Disease adds another threat. Pathogens spread more easily in stressed populations. Environmental degradation weakens immune defenses, turning manageable infections into lethal outbreaks. Amphibians worldwide have suffered dramatic losses from emerging diseases, and leopard frogs are not immune. Yet coexistence is possible. Where wetlands are protected, water quality maintained, and migration corridors preserved, leopard frogs persist even near human settlements. They adapt to modified landscapes if core requirements remain intact. Clean water, seasonal stability, safe refuges. In this way, leopard frogs become measures of restraint, not of nature's limits, but of humanity's. Their presence signals balance. Their absence signals excess. They ask little. They demand only that the margins between water and land remain functional. When those margins vanish, so do they. The greatest danger to the leopard frog does not arrive suddenly. It accumulates. Layer by layer, change presses inward until the margins it depends on disappear. Wetlands shrink. Water becomes chemically complex. Seasons lose their predictability. None of these forces act alone, but together they redefine the rules of survival. For an animal whose life is calibrated to moisture, temperature, and timing, instability is lethal. The leopard frog does not migrate long distances. It does not adapt rapidly to radically new conditions. Its strategy has always relied on consistency. When that consistency erodes, resilience weakens. Climate change reshapes its world first through temperature. Warmer nights disrupt metabolic recovery. Altered rainfall patterns collapse breeding cycles. Ponds fill too late or dry too early. Eggs laid in good faith fail to hatch. Tadpoles strand in evaporating pools. Even slight shifts cascade through the life cycle. Water quality compounds the threat. Agricultural runoff introduces nutrients that trigger algal blooms, reducing oxygen levels and suffocating larvae. Pesticides interfere with hormone systems, distorting development. Heavy metals accumulate in tissues, weakening immune response. The frog's permeable skin, once its greatest advantage, becomes a liability. Habitat fragmentation seals these pressures into place. When wetlands are isolated, frogs cannot recolonize after local extinction. Genetic diversity narrows. Adaptive potential declines. Populations become silent islands, vulnerable to a single bad season. Disease thrives under stress. Pathogens that once existed in balance exploit weakened defenses. Outbreaks spread quickly in dense breeding aggregations. Mortality rises without spectacle, leaving empty shorelines where calls once echoed. Yet decline is not destiny. Where wetlands are restored, leopard frogs return. Where water quality improves, breeding resumes. Where corridors reconnect habitats, genetic flow strengthens populations. Recovery does not require perfection, only stability. Conservation success with leopard frogs demonstrates a broader truth. Protecting transitional spaces protects life. Wetlands are not wasted land. They are engines of biodiversity, buffers against climate extremes, filters for water, and nurseries for countless species. Saving frogs saves systems. Beyond ecology, the leopard frog carries evolutionary meaning. It represents one of life's most successful compromises. Not fully aquatic, not fully terrestrial, it thrives in between. This liminal existence has persisted for hundreds of millions of years, surviving global upheavals that erased more specialized forms. Its life cycle embodies transformation. From egg to tadpole to adult, it rewrites its own biology. Few vertebrates undergo such total reinvention and endure. This capacity is not dramatic, it is routine. Transformation is not exception, it is identity. To watch a leopard frog at rest is to witness balance. Muscles coiled but relaxed, skin absorbing the world, eyes fixed on both water and land. It exists without excess, without waste, without urgency. In a rapidly changing world, this animal offers perspective. Survival is not always about speed or dominance. Sometimes it is about precision, about fitting exactly where forces meet, about knowing when to move and when not to. If the leopard frog disappears, it will not do so loudly. There will be no final call, no visible collapse. Only a quiet absence where life once bridged two worlds. And if it remains, it will do so as it always has, unnoticed by most, essential to many, alive at the edge.